watching this because you drive a truck, and we all know what that means. Long hours, paperwork to fill in, deadlines to meet, safety inspections to carry out. It's tough work, there's no doubt about it.
See you later.
And it's a job that puts bread on the table for families all over New Zealand. It's a great job, physical, getting out on the road and earning an income, maybe being your own boss. Truck driving is more than just a job, it's a profession, an important one. Without truck drivers, the New Zealand economy would be buggered. When you look at it that way, it's hardly surprising there are a lot of people putting time and energy into making sure your driving experience is as efficient and safe as it can be. Over recent years, a lot of hard work has gone into making the trucking industry safer for everyone, and it's paying off. The number of fatal crashes involving trucks has halved since the early 1990s, and the injury rate has dramatically dropped as well.
If you go back to the 70s and the 80s, you didn't have load security. You didn't tie stuff down on your truck. You could put a container on your truck, not worry about doing twist locks up there. You just would not do that in this day and age.
When I first started, you'd never ever see a truck driver wearing the glow vest, but now every driver now wears one.
Previously, customers would have to give me a hand to help load the vehicle, whereas now I can do it all by myself, put it on the truck and then strap it down and drive to wherever we're going to deliver it to.
All the health and safety things, it has made a big improvement to the industry. Sometimes it feels like too much paperwork, but at the end of the day, it's there for your safety.
You've got 40 odd tonne behind you, so that's a fair weight that's going to push you around if something goes wrong. So you have to take responsibility, I suppose, to make sure that you can do your part and make sure everything's safe.
The industry has improved a lot. Years ago we used to drive trucks with 3-axle trailers, top heavy, and well, they did fall over, you got to admit. Now they've got these multi-trailers and you can just load them properly and travel safely.
But there's still a lot more to be done. Despite falling rates of fatal crashes, around 18% of all deaths on the road still involve trucks. However, in around 64% of these fatal crashes, truck drivers are found to not be at fault.
Brake! Pump, 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 keep pumping.
There are precautions you can take and driving methods you can adopt that will not only make you safer, but could also reduce the damage if you are hit by someone else. But you can never take your safety for granted. Brian O'Neill had driven for 30 years without incident when his life was changed forever.
I was coming off a one-way bridge, doing about 65 k's, and round a sweeping bend ahead of me, a car was speeding around the corner, crossed the centre line, and I could see that he was going to crash. The force was that great that it shore off the front axle of the truck. After the impact, the car was down a bank. I got out of the truck and heard the driver screaming. I went down to the car and his passenger, he was trapped because he took the full impact of the vehicle. All I could do was comfort him as he was dying. You don't expect it to happen. You go to work in the morning expecting to go home safely at night with nothing happening in between. But this day it was easy to see how things can change.
Another driver who had a similar crash is Matty Smith, and it's the type of experience that no one wants to go through.
I came around the corner off a bridge and there was a car straight in my lane, straight in front of me. 81-year-old lady had fallen asleep, unfortunately, and yeah, went straight over top of her. At the impact time, you feel hopeless. You can't do anything. Her whole car went under the front axle and got spat out in between my driving axles. But she survived. Serious injuries, but she did survive.
Stories like Brian's and Matty's are all too common. Every crash leads to trauma of some kind. This is why many parties, including the truckies' own lobby group, the Road Transport Forum, want to do all they can to reduce the number of crashes.
Truck drivers are more likely to survive the crash, but ask any driver who's been in one, and nearly all wish there was something more they could have done to avoid being involved in the first place.
Even though I was not at fault, you still carry it with you for life. If I was at fault, it would be a lot worse, having to carry that guilt of being involved in a fatal crash would be quite horrendous.
Even now, if I see somebody coming close to my side of the lane, I still get edgy. So I mean, it's 12, 14 years later.
Maintaining your vehicle properly, knowing how to load your truck, driving at an appropriate speed for the conditions, taking necessary breaks. These are all things that will help you avoid injury or even death on the roads.
I'd far rather have a driver being safe at work, doing the job correctly, doing it right, and everybody's happy. The client's happy at the end of the day. He's getting serviced with good gear, good staff, and your driver's safe. I want you walking out that gate in the same condition that you walked in the gate in the morning. The last thing I want to be doing is visiting their wife or their family because they've had a serious accident at work.
Watch how other truck drivers reduce the risk of a crash. At the same time, they're improving their overall efficiency on things like fuel and maybe even tyres. And the biggest thing is they get home safely. Remember, it's smarter to drive safer. There's plenty of things you can do to improve your overall efficiency and reduce the risk of a crash. But it all begins right here before you even hit the road. In just the amount of time it takes your vehicle to warm up, you can carry out a pre-trip vehicle inspection. This can greatly reduce the likelihood of your vehicle being taken out of service at roadside checks and certificate of fitness inspections. It will prevent unnecessary wear and tear, improve fuel efficiency, and it could save someone's life. It could even be your own life, given that about a third of all heavy vehicles roll over in a crash. There's no reason to put yourself and other road users at risk. You've got to make sure your vehicle is safe before you leave the yard.
I was going around a 65k corner and I knew the corner and I slowed down to about 45. As I was halfway around the corner, there was an equipment malfunction, an airbag in the cab burst. And at that point, it just all turned to custard. I felt completely helpless. It was out of my control. There was no way I could stop it. I knew it was going to hurt. I didn't think it was going to result with a broken back and put me out of work for 2.5 years. It was very, very scary though. And I did wonder whether I'd be getting home to see my family in a hurry. To anyone who hasn't been through an accident, I hope you don't go through one. You never know what's going to happen. It can be a malfunction, it could be somebody else's fault. So you have to really take a lot of caution out there.
So who should carry out pre-trip inspections? The answer is everybody. Research shows that drivers who don't carry out these inspections usually can't be bothered and don't care about safety, and that makes it unsafe for everyone. If you own your own truck, you don't want it off the road. You don't want to be losing business for this reason, especially because of injury.
Because I'm self-employed, I pay the bills, and if I'm not working, we're not earning any money.
It becomes expensive in terms of not making any money. The vehicle's actually costing them while it's in the workshop.
You just can't pick up a driver to come and drive your truck for 6 or 8 weeks while you're off work. You just cannot afford to injure yourself.
The other things that could affect is not being able to meet contracts, not being able to meet commitments in terms of finance repayments. Those sorts of things actually have a big impact, and the more time the vehicle's off the road, the bigger the impact.
You need to make sure.
If you're part of a large team, a pre-trip inspection is every bit as important.
We're out there amongst the public. If we're swapping lanes and the indicators aren't working, then you're cutting vehicles off. They're ringing us up saying, hey, your truck's cutting us off on the motorway. It eliminates all that. I mean, 10 minutes to check your truck over in the morning is nothing.
We've got some very good instances of tampering with heavy motor vehicles in yards and even secure yards.
Because there has been a problem over the years in different companies that people go around loosening other people's wheel nuts, It might be just idiots in town just having a thrill, but they have been known to fall off.
Tow couplings get released, container locks get switched into a position of unlocked. We also have load binders that are actually loosened and also taken. The poor driver takes the can for that if something goes wrong. So we'd advocate good walk-around check procedures for the driver. Even if he did check it the night before, makes good sense to actually check it again.
So, what should you be looking out for when you do a pre-trip inspection of your truck or truck trailer? When approaching the truck, glance underneath it to see how it is sitting. or if there are any obvious leaks such as water or oil. Inspect your coolant and fluid levels and check your water and oil. Make sure that you clean the dipstick before testing to get an accurate reading. Now enter the cab and check that the truck is in neutral and the park brake is on. Start your truck up. Once started, check all gauges, particularly the oil pressure and alternator. While it is warming up, it is a good time to check your vehicle over. Turn on your lights with headlights on dip and indicators to the left. A good place to start is the left-hand front corner, where you check the side lights, dipped headlights, number plate, front indicators and top cab lights. Check the registration, certificate of fitness, certificate of loading and road user license are all current. If you are stopped by the CVIU and you can't find these, it'll take you longer to get back on the road, and if any have expired, it may result in prosecution. Check all tyres for damage, wear and inflation, and have a look at the wheel nuts. Are there any signs that they are coming loose, such as rust marks by the nuts? Some of you will be driving in pretty rugged conditions, in which case you'll have to check your tyres more often. You may want to do this during a stop in your journey, but you'll definitely want to do it if the conditions have given you any cause for concern. Throughout the check, be watchful for anything loose on your truck which could lead to damage if left unattended.
Some of the operators we work with have already noticed, by just introducing driver walk-around checks, the amount of breakdowns that have reduced. Those issues are actually picked up mainly by the driver and can save the company huge amounts of money.
Continue down the left-hand side. Check that all spring leaves are present. When you are at the wheel with the hubometer on, take a note of the reading and check this with the RUC licenses. Check all mudguards are firmly attached and that the load of your truck is secure, that all restraints are used correctly and the appropriate restraint values are applied. Also, check draw beam and draw bar certification. If driving with a trailer unit, check all of its tyres, mudguards and suspension. And ensure that its hubometer is covered by the RUC licence. At the rear of the vehicle, check that all lights are working and that the tailgate is secure. Now is a good time to switch the indicator to the right prior to inspecting the right side of the vehicle. It's also a good idea to get someone to apply the brakes for you to check that these lights function too.
That's a big thing. There's nothing worse than going down the road, put your brakes on and someone runs up your ass. Your brake lights aren't working.
Work your way back towards the cab, checking all tyres and mudguards along the way. If driving a combination vehicle, depending on the combination you are driving, you also need to check the trailer connection. For semi-trailers, check that the kingpin is fully locked and check the turntable to make sure that the trailer is sitting flat on the fifth wheel. For truck and trailer combinations, check that the towing connection is locked. Make sure all the trailer plugs, both air and power, are connected securely and that there are no leaks. If there is a toolbox or dunnage stored on the trailer, make sure it's secure. Give the air tank a quick bleed to clear any moisture that might have occurred overnight. Check that the batteries are secure. Check your front indicator. You're nearly ready to go now. Climb safely into your cab. And don't forget your safety belt. Many drivers believe in a crash it's better to be thrown from a truck, but research shows you're 4 times more likely to survive a crash in a truck if you are wearing one.
When I had my big accident that broke my back, if I'd been wearing my safety belt, things would have been a lot different. So yes, you should wear a seatbelt.
Check your windscreen wipers and washers work and that your mirrors and seat are correctly adjusted. Check your horn. Now accelerate your truck forward and jam on the brakes to test them. By now your truck will have warmed up and you're ready to hit the road. In those few minutes, you've checked everything to make sure your truck is running efficiently and it's safe.
In the late 1990s, we got advised of our terrible rollover record for logging trucks. So we got called to account for our actions, and as it was our problem, we had to fix it.
Over recent years, the logging industry's safety record has gone from being one of the worst to one of the best. A 65% reduction rate in logging truck crashes and a 75% reduction rate in rollovers. They're great stats. So how did they do it? The log truck driving population were ageing, which raised concerns.
We were suffering a lot of heart attacks and strokes. We had to come up with a plan, so we developed this health and wellness project, and it's been running now for 6 months, and we've seen some very, very good results.
Another day at the office.
I know over the years I've changed my way of eating and living. I know people laugh at me, but I try and walk 25 k's a week just to keep fit. And I've lost a fair bit of weight and I feel a lot better for it.
We identified 3 areas that needed work on, and that was education of the drivers, engineering of our equipment, and operations and logistics, which is the way we worked our trucks within our fleet.
In New Zealand, police figures show that between 2003 and 2006, 19% of truck crashes in general were influenced by driver fatigue. This has prompted a focus on the importance of rest.
How's the road there?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad.
Both drivers and employers have a role to play in better management of fatigue. A professional driver knows that fatigue has the potential to cause a crash and will ensure their lifestyle avoids it. Professional employers know that policies and scheduling can contribute to fatigue. The work time and logbooks rule, introduced in the late 1980s and revised in 2007, provides a framework for controlling work-related factors that can make you fatigued.
CVIU have been working really hard how to make things easier for our drivers to operate, e.g. the logbooks, far more user-friendly than they have been.
Logbooks are important, and the basic principles of them are to protect the driver and members of the public from fatigued drivers falling asleep and crashing their trucks. The fatigued driver ends up driving like a drunk driver.
Before we even leave the yard, the logbooks are always filled out. Your start time, your date, your correct mileage. Really, the logbooks have come a long way since I started driving, going from an ordinary docket book to what we've got today. It really keeps you aware of your hours, and it also keeps the CVIU happy when everything is filled out correctly.
Logbooks must be maintained by any driver of a vehicle that requires a Class 2, 3, 4 or 5 licence.
Have you got your logbook and your licence there, please?
Yep. Failing to maintain a logbook when a logbook is required is an offence, just like exceeding the speed limit.
It just comes second nature. When you start your truck, you do your logbook, and when you have smoko, you fill it in. And at the end of the day, you shouldn't have any hassles with it.
When I first started, a bit of a chore, but now that I've been driving for quite a while, I'm used to it.
Your logbook's either in your bag or in the truck already waiting for you. You know to do it before you move off, so it's common sense to use it.
It makes sure that everybody's on the same path. Everybody's abiding by the law. They're getting the correct amount of sleep. They're getting the correct amount of work time.
They're a level playing field for everyone. Everyone fills in the logbook, so no one should have any problems with it at all.
Work time is all the time spent performing work-related activities and includes things like the pre-trip inspection, driving, loading and unloading, maintenance and any admin type work such as filling out the logbook. Rest time is all time that is not work time. It has to be at least 30 minutes in duration and must not be spent in a moving vehicle associated with work. There are clearly prescribed times that you must rest in relation to hours worked.
The driver can work up to 5.5 hours continuously, then they must take a 30-minute rest period.
You can have a feed, have a walk around. It gives you a different feeling, you know, you're not tense behind the wheel or just concentrating on the road. It gives you time to sit down and relax and just think about your day, maybe plan what the rest of your trip's going to be. It is important to have that break.
A driver can work 13 hours in a day with 2 half-hour minimum rest periods, then they must have a minimum 10-hour rest.
If you've worked a bit late one night, you just got to start later the next day just so you get your 10-hour break, and then you just carry on from there.
The maximum cumulative work period a driver can work is 70 hours. Then they must have a 24-hour rest period. This resets the clock so that they can begin another working week.
Just recapping on those main points. After 5.5 hours working, a driver must rest for at least 30 minutes. A working day can be no longer than 14 hours, including at least 2 30-minute rest breaks. This must be followed by a rest of at least 10 hours. After 70 hours work and rest is accumulated over consecutive days, the driver must have 24 hours rest to restart their working week. As a truck driver, you will use a general form logbook which is produced in either a 2-copy or 3-copy format. Employees must use the 3-copy format. This ensures they have their own record to refer to, as well as a copy for the employer and one for the enforcement officer. Each day, as soon as he starts work, Gary records his name and the date and the time he starts work. At the beginning of a cumulative work period, the last 24-hour rest period must be shown, and you must also account for days off in the logbook. Using the activity grid, Gary records each place he goes to and notes the times and locations of his rest breaks. If you are required to maintain a logbook, you must complete all of the mandatory requirements outlined on the card within your logbook. You must also complete each page of the logbook. If you are an employed driver, you must remove each record copy at the end of a cumulative work period and hand it to your employer within 14 days.
See how sheets work?
And there is nothing to stop smart operators from using the information collected in logbooks to improve their operations.
A lot of roadworks around now.
Yeah.
So getting towards the end of the week and the logbook is getting quite full, then our truck dispatchers can just reschedule their trucks and make an easier trip. Yeah, logbooks are just another tool that can help us to manage the fatigue side of the business.
There's enough people out there now who are willing to help you, from OSH departments to your boss to CVIU. I've had the CVIU come to my house and instruct all my drivers. It's common sense, it's easy, you can't go wrong with it, and at the end of the day you're the one going to pay the fine, not the boss.
Hey, no one likes paperwork, but the logbook is a big part of a proven safety system. It's a no-brainer to include it in your everyday routine. Experienced truckies know how to make their rigs safe and stable. It's the simple things like packing the load as low as possible to the ground and ensuring they drive at the right speed around corners. And they always keep their speeds down so they're not stuffed when something unexpected occurs, such as a car pulling out suddenly in front of them. They're also fully aware of the effects that braking and acceleration have on their truck. Jeff and John know a lot about this sort of stuff, and they have some tips to help you become a better driver. They could even help save your life.
When you're driving heavy vehicles, you'll find there are a lot of differences between driving these and other road vehicles. The key thing in this is obviously the mass or the weight involved with them. A lot of experienced drivers can sense these dynamics from the seat of their pants. Also, it takes a lot of power to get the vehicle up to speed. Once it's at speed, it generates a massive amount of energy.
The weight of a vehicle has a direct relationship to the amount of energy it carries. In simple terms, the heavier vehicle, the more damage it can cause. A fully laden truck trailer unit travelling at 90 kilometres an hour has the same amount of energy as a car travelling at 500 kilometres an hour. Obviously cars don't travel at 500k, but truck trailers do travel at 90k. Check this out. This is my car travelling at 90k. This is my truck travelling at 90k.
When you're driving your truck around a corner, you're forcing it to do something it doesn't really want to do. Really, the truck and the load wants to keep going straight ahead. When you do turn the vehicle around the corner, you'll find that the sheer mass or weight and the energy will force the truck to want to go on the outside of the turn. The safest way to complete cornering is to adopt what we call the system of vehicle control. This basically means that you've lined up your vehicle with right speed, right gears and right position before you enter the corner. Once you enter the corner, you'll find that it covers three aspects. One is your entry, then there's your apex, then your exit. For your entry, you want to have it whereby all your speed and gear selection and road positioning is done prior to turning the steering wheel into the corner. You then move through to the apex, which is where you actually see the exit from the corner. Once you reach the exit, then you start straightening it out and let it go back towards the outside of the turn, accelerating a little bit more. Then once you've cleared the corner, then you accelerate away at your normal speed.
Remember, slow in, accelerate out. The chances of having a crash are greatly reduced if you are travelling at a sensible speed. When approaching a corner, reduce your speed to that shown on the curve warning sign by at least 10 kilometres an hour below the posted speed shown. At a roundabout, or if you are turning at an intersection, keep your speed low until both your truck and its trailer have fully completed the turn and are straight behind each other on the exit. Then accelerate out to your normal road speed. Sensible driving not only looks after you and other road users, it also looks after your wallet as well. You see, if you were to drive at 90 k's instead of 100, you'll save 10 to 20% on your fuel costs. Not only that, you've got other maintenance items as well, like your tyres. It's really simple, guys. It's smart to be safe. Another variable is the load type, weight and distribution that is on the vehicle. Now, there is some variation between rigs. This tanker, for instance, can have a much lower centre of gravity than many other trucks, but will be nowhere near as stable as a car.
During cornering, cars and trucks behave differently. A car is less likely to roll because of its low centre of gravity. A typical family car has a track width between its left and right hand wheels which is much wider than the car is tall, so its centre of gravity is comparatively low. A stock trailer unit, on the other hand, has a height up to 2 times higher than its width, making it much more likely to overbalance when cornering.
Before setting out, you should pay attention to the load positioning and security.
Get up!
A truck is more stable when any heavy freight is placed as low as possible to reduce the overall centre of gravity. Also, ensure that you distribute the load evenly over the axles. If you load a car fully, then the mass will change by 50% at most, while the centre of gravity will stay the same. Load a truck fully and the mass will change by 200%, causing the centre of gravity to shift. The higher the load, the more likely a truck is to roll.
You've always got to remember your load is above your head. You've just got to read those road signs. You know, 75k corner, I go around at 60, 65k's. It's just not worth the risk.
Around a third of heavy vehicle crashes in New Zealand involve a rollover, of which more than half are truck trailers. The load you carry should never exceed the manufacturer's rating for your vehicle, but this may be higher than your SRT compliance certificate, your RUC licence weights, or the maximum legal road weight. If you exceed any of these recommended weights, you run the risk of getting in real trouble.
Experienced drivers know how to load their vehicles to maintain the stability. This is particularly the case for drivers who cart what we call live loads. The vehicle we're using at the moment, the tanker, is just loaded with water, so obviously the water can move, it's alive. But other vehicles carry what we deem to be live loads, things like car transporters, stock trucks, etc., where the load is inherently unstable and moves around. Arthur Innes here is a driver trainer. Arthur's got many years of experience as a truck driver and also in the last 5 years as an instructor on this particular vehicle. To maintain load stability, what Arthur does basically is adopts this system of vehicle control where basically all he's doing is maintaining the right speed that's appropriate for the load he's got. But look what happens when he alters his driving style to simulate that he has not gone correctly into a corner. The load then can move outside the normal parameters he would have, and that load shift can force the vehicle into a very dangerous position.
Arthur's demonstration would become very dangerous very quickly in any conventional truck carrying a live load, but the Master Drive stability and control tanker has outrigger wheels which prevent it from tipping over. Now you might be thinking to yourselves, it doesn't apply to me. I don't drive a rig like this. But the fact is simple. Vehicle dynamics apply to everyone, regardless of the type or size of truck it is that you drive.
It's all down to how he applies steering control. Slight movement on a steering wheel is magnified towards the rear of the vehicle, causing a whiplash.
I can demonstrate the way the forces grow larger as they travel down this vehicle with a simple test. I've installed this hose full of liquid at the rear and one at the front. The greater the force on the liquid when cornering, the higher it will go. Watch the difference between the force on the front and rear of the vehicle when travelling at speed. You need to understand what you're doing up here in the cab will have a greater impact on what happens at the rear of the vehicle.
Some people call this steering amplification or snaking. In essence, it's like cracking a whip, where a little bit of steering control at the front is amplified towards the rear of the combination. This is particularly a problem with combinations such as truck and trailers and E-train combinations, where the more couplings they've got, the more amplification they will have. It doesn't matter what this phenomenon is called. All drivers must be aware of it and drive to minimise the effects.
Swerving to avoid a pothole is a common trigger for snaking. If you are driving with a trailer and pull hard on the steering wheel, at first the trailer will swerve in the desired direction, but the trailer doesn't always straighten up immediately. It can continue swinging in both directions. Once it starts, the swinging gets worse. The sudden movement to the right, followed by a correction to the left, may not be noticeable in the cab, but it would be felt very strongly in the trailer. It can cause a rollover before you even feel it happening in the cab.
Regular checking of your vehicle mirrors is the way to identify if you've got steering amplification that's getting excessive. If you've identified this, the only way you can get yourself out of it is first of all by deceleration and smoother steering control. Heavy braking in that type of situation can be very dangerous, particularly if your vehicle isn't fitted with any form of electronic braking system or roll stability support.
Don't stand on the brakes. If you stand on the brakes, you lose control. 9 times out of 10 you can steer yourself out of it, depending on the road conditions and so on.
The last thing any driver wants is to experience a rollover. Rollover is all about speed and load. If you're going too fast for a curve in the road, there is a chance of rollover. That chance is greatly increased if the loaded vehicle has poor stability or the load has moved or shifted.
Many drivers wouldn't tie this sort of thing in because it's wrapped and it's all fairly secure, but because of the weight of it, the potential for damage if I had to stop on a sudden or someone pulled out in front of me is quite huge. So it's very important to strap the loads down.
Gavin is an experienced driver. He's been driving these sorts of combinations now for 5 or 6 years or so, and has clocked up in that time probably around 1 million kilometres. During that time he's had no rollovers, vehicle rollovers or major accidents of any sort, and we're really just going to give him an indication of what it can be like if things do go wrong. All right, Gavin, you've learned about cornering lines and cornering techniques. Just apply those techniques into the corner. It's got to be around that 40 to 45k, which can be uncomfortable. And when we go into the S-bends, pick your lines and pick your acceleration control. Yep, got through there okay. So what we're going to do next time round is we're going to simulate, if you like, that you've just lost concentration, take your eye off the ball at some stage. I'll tell you when to make the turn and what acceleration control to put on. Bring around now, hard round. Round to the right, hard round, accelerate.
Oh,
work out.
So you can see the difference there. Why did that buzzer go off?
Probably not a good, a bit of a warning.
Because your drive wheels had come off the ground.
Okay.
And the power from your engine will go to the side of least resistance, which is the wheels that are off the ground.
Yep.
So that buzzer was actually your over revving. The rev counter went right up and it was over revving, simply because your drive axle came off the ground.
Yeah, I certainly saw a lot of air under those back tyres on that trailer, and gives you a bit of a shock, all right?
It does, doesn't it? It gets the heart fluttering a wee bit.
It's about being aware of how quickly it can happen, I suppose, and it just sort of shows, how easy it is to happen. I think a lot of drivers probably aren't aware of that.
No two corners are the same, so they always require your full attention. If you're not 100% focused, you could roll over, and nobody wants that.
Okay, Gavin, there's quite a number of new innovations, if you like, that's come into trucking in the last few years, particularly with braking and stability controls. You've got the ABS brake, which has been around for quite a while now. Obviously, it's anti-lock systems. You've also now more recently got EBS braking, electronic braking systems, and you've got what we call RSS, which is roll stability.
Sure, yep.
Now, basically the way these sort of things work, the ABS obviously stops axles and whatever from locking up, and it pulses the brakes. EBS will detect which individual wheel will be picking up, and it will automatically counteract it with braking on other wheels.
Okay, yep.
And the roll stability will pick up when the sideways force is applied to it.
Sure.
Now, this vehicle's got all of those features fitted to it, but at the moment we've got them switched off.
Okay.
All right, so what we're going to sense now is where you get an oh hell moment, where say a car has pulled out in front of you, for instance, or a kid running out from a pavement, whatever.
Yep.
Okay, and you traditionally, it's always been the case of oh hell, and then you slam down the foot on the brake.
Yep.
Okay. We're going to go at the speed that I say is safe.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
And then when I tell you to brake, you brake. Don't do it before then.
Sure.
All right, because we're going to replicate a last-minute thing. So if you take your speed right up now and really give it some curry. It's funny, you see a cone in front of you, and even though you know it's a cone, you still shit yourself when you go into it. Okay, Gavin, this time round we've got all the electronics switched on, the EBS, ABS and RSS. We're going to do exactly the same thing as you did before, where you'll come in here as quick as you can, and if you feel that you can steer around something, do so.
Okay.
As you've seen there, Gavin, the difference between when the ABS and EBS is engaged, all right, the fact that you've got a lot of control over the vehicle. You can still turn if you need to.
Sure.
You can actually manoeuvre around things, which under a lock-up situation, you obviously can't do because all the axles are locked.
Yeah, definitely a lot smoother, wasn't it? And
yeah.
Definitely feel you had that little bit more control.
Okay, now the problem we do have in the industry is there are a lot of old trailers out there and so on, so not all the trailers that you may hook onto would have this sort of system engaged. Now there is a technique we teach to help overcome this. I tend to call it the poor man's ABS, which is what we call cadence braking. And what this includes is that rather than coming in and just slamming on the brakes, as guys traditionally do, is you declutch and you pump the brakes. You've got to go full on, full off.
Okay,
all right, so you can't just pulse them because the air won't obviously come off the brakes.
Right,
all right, so it's full on, full off, and just pump like that as quick as you can go.
Okay.
All right.
Just sharp jabs on the brake pedal.
Yep. Full on, full off.
Okay.
All right, Gavin. This time round, we're going to do the same sort of scenario. Okay, so you're going to get the same speed up.
Yep.
We've turned off all the electronics now, no ABS or anything. And this is where we apply that poor man's ABS cadence braking.
Yep.
Keep pumping. There you go. No lockups whatsoever. You see the difference?
Definitely, yeah.
Okay, and even though at the start the cones looked like they were coming up fairly quick, you notice it bled off the speed at the last minute and just stopped.
Okay. Yeah, very, very tempting just to put your foot right to the floor and
it is tempting, yeah. But that's the whole idea, though, if you like, of having training, that these things are aware to you, and then you'd be surprised how much they come back.
Absolutely.
Now, some drivers might be driving different rigs every day, all right, but each rig is totally different from the other. As it got these electronic braking systems and roll stability supports, what's the loading like? Is it likely that a load will cause a back axle, for instance, to lock up because you've got too much weight on the front?
That's right, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Go on.
unless you've got that ABS and the EBS to help you out in a situation that we've put the truck into today, it's definitely can be a scary thing, and being able to go out there and do it and see what happens is fantastic. Yeah, hopefully it's something you can learn and leads to a long and safe career.
Keeping your vehicles roadworthy is a safety issue and a legal requirement. It's not optional. You are responsible, both driver and operator, for ensuring your vehicle complies with all regulations and safety standards. Of course, making the walk-around inspection part of your pre-trip routine and having any defects fixed before going on the road is the smart way to avoid expensive fines and costly downtime if your vehicle is ordered off the road.
It could save you time and money later. It could even save your life. Drivers who are professional in their approach to work and carry out pre-trip inspections are less likely to be ordered off the road because of vehicle defects.
The relationship between the CVIU and the trucking industry has come a long way over the years. The Road Transport Forum has even helped develop the guidelines for procedure in typical roadside inspections.
RTF recognised the need for safety inspections, and they are 100% behind the approach that we are taking. They don't want the bad publicity of broken trucks or trucks causing accidents, and we don't want that either.
It's about getting road safety to a good level. As long as we're all on the same page, it's going to happen.
You cringe when you see them 100 metres up the road and they step out and start waving you over and you're
screwing your face up. It's not going to make it go any faster. The quicker you do what it is they want you to do, the quicker you're going to be gone from there.
And it's up to us to keep them out of a job in terms of finding nothing wrong with our vehicle.
If we realise that they're there to help us, to keep us safe, it puts a different perspective on it. You're not just thinking that they're there to give you a ticket.
There you go. Morning, mate. Great day for it, isn't it?
It's lovely, eh?
Have you got your logbook and your licence here, please?
Yep.
Thank you. Just get you to do a quick breath test. Make sure you didn't have a big night. Just say your name and address into the head of the machine.
Paul Howard.
That'll do, thank you. Fine, clear. Thank you. What's in the box?
Just general freight.
How much have they told you on the manifest?
Oh, it's about 20.
So that would give you 37, 38 tonne?
Yeah, between 37 and 38.
All right, we'll just do a quick check on the weights.
No worries.
I'll go into the hut. When I give you a thumbs up, just roll across the middle plate at a walking speed, about 5 k's an hour, and stop clear of the grey strip on the other side.
Yep, no worries.
I'll come back out here.
Okay.
Okay? Up.
When you drive across the weighbridge, every axle of your truck is measured, allowing the enforcement officer to see how much you are carrying and how safe your load is.
Yeah, that was pretty good, mate. You're spot on with your estimate. 37.6.
Oh, that's all right.
Got a tonne to spare on the trailer, half a tonne on the drive, spot on the front here.
Oh, that's good.
What I'm going to do now is what we call a level 3 inspection, or the walk-around inspection.
Yep.
Quite welcome to follow me around as we do it. I'll get you to turn the motor off, please. First thing I'll do though is the headlights and indicators. So just stay there, turn the headlights on and watch my hand signals.
Yep.
Okay. High beam, dip, indicator, other side, that's good.
The CVIU's check includes all of the lights and indicators on your vehicle.
Okay, if you want to come around with me as I go around the truck, quite welcome.
They're there to make your life easier. If you want to hassle them, you'll end up hanging around for a lot longer than what you have to.
There's always people that are going to turn around and say that they get a hard time from the CVIU. I believe that the only people that get the hard time are the ones that are not playing by the rules.
Be helpful, whatever they want, do it. They want to see your road users, your licence, just do it. You know, we've got nothing to hide.
Check the obvious things like tyre tread depth. Got a little bit of a chunk taken out of that one, but it doesn't look anything bad.
When you're at a roadside or weighbridge inspection, the NZTA or the police will check your vehicle to national guidelines. Any problems found can range from minor right through to dangerous. And remember, the more serious the problem, the higher the consequences.
What we look for is attachments like this. Make sure the bolts look tight, nothing's loose.
Oh, yep.
No obvious cracks or anything in chassis rails.
Yep.
Mud guards, everything's tight. They are an agreed set of guidelines between New Zealand Police, CVIU, NZTA and the Road Transport Forum, so that each of the parties involved knows exactly what the consequences are if a particular defect is found in a vehicle. No oil leaks in the hydraulics.
If a defect is found, the consequences range from an instruction to repair the vehicle, being parked up, being issued with a non-operation order, and or being given an offence notice.
Twist locks. Got to keep aware that they have what they call a détente in there, that resistance to stop it turning.
Yep.
As they wear, they can vibrate off.
Yep.
We have found them with all four undone at times, some old trailers.
The officer will check that all of your vehicle's paperwork is up to scratch.
And all the documentation on the side here for the trailer. We check things like some of the regulatory things that have to be displayed, like names and TSL numbers.
Vehicles are also required to display a Transport Service Licence, or TSL label, on the passenger side of the windscreen or in the window behind the passenger seat.
We then look at safety issues, tyres, springs, brakes, suspension. It is, in effect, the walk-around inspection that is promoted by NZTA for drivers and should ideally be done every day before they deploy from the yard.
All the CVIU guys are going to do when they pull you up is basically what you should have done before you started the day.
That one's starting to get a bit of wear on it. It's not too bad at the moment though. It's worth looking at as it gets a little bit older. You just look for the initial resistance to unlock it.
Oh, yep.
There's a little bit there, but you've jackknifed it parking by the looks of it. It's not a major, but it's just something to bear in mind. It's going to get worse, so it'll need replacing at some stage. Similar thing there. I'll put a little patch in it. It's better than leaving it undone, but it's going to need a new guard at some stage.
Yeah, no, I'll make a note of that.
With the damage to his wheel guard identified, Paul's employer will be able to get it repaired before the damage gets more expensive to fix and it impacts on the safety of everyone using the vehicle.
I mean, it's not hard, it's not rocket science. If you see something falling off, you get it fixed or you notify someone about it. But if you don't, then you shit in your own nest.
Okay, Paul, that's good. The vehicle qualifies for one of our orange stickers.
The orange sticker, when the CVIU give you one of them, it's a good feeling to have. You know they're happy with the gear and you're happy with it because it's all up to speed.
The only thing on the inspection was those splits in the mudguards. I put them down as a noting, meaning I'm not taking any further action, but they need to be repaired before they become major faults.
Yeah,
if they develop to majors, you could end up qualifying for either a green or a pink sticker.
Yeah, okay.
Pink generally means that the truck stays here until it's repaired.
Okay.
So that's a major disruption to your working day and to the bosses, obviously. A green, you're generally allowed to go away to get it fixed, but under strict conditions. A green sticker actually has two levels of seriousness. We have what we in the police call a green 2, which is identification of a defect that has to be repaired and we have to be notified. A standard green is, again, identification of a defect, but once that defect is rectified, the vehicle has to be submitted for a new certificate of fitness. A pink sticker is used when a vehicle is deemed to be unsafe to be driven on the road. Generally, the vehicle is directed to stay where it is until the particular defect has been fixed. We do, however, allow them at times to drive to a place of repair, but under very strict guidelines as to speed and route. And it is compulsory or mandatory for a new certificate of fitness to be put on that truck before it can return to service. Have you heard of this document at all?
No, I haven't.
It's an agreed set of guidelines from the police, the NZTA and the Road Transport Forum about what action gets taken on defects that we find. If you look at this one, like where it says wheel nuts missing, it's a green sticker. But if you've got a wheel damaged, it's a pink sticker. It's so that you know what to expect if we find this wrong with your truck. It's available on the website as well. So mention it to your boss or your transport manager. They may not be aware of it. What I'll do, I'll come out and put the orange sticker on your truck that you qualified for. So if you get stopped within the next 30 days, if there's nothing obviously wrong with the truck, you shouldn't be put through the full level 3 inspection again, or the equipment inspection. So I'll come out and put that on the truck and then you're a free man.
Great.
That's me, you're free to go. Good to see a nice tidy truck, mate.
Okay, thank you.
See you later. Bye.
Hey, remember, these guidelines were created by people representing you and the entire trucking industry. They are applied consistently across the entire nation, so they're fair for everyone. The simple aim reduce vehicle defects and improve overall safety.
The risk will always be there that you can have an accident, that it's always out there.
Use the old grey matter and you'll come home good. That's the thing, just use your bloody head.
You've got to enjoy your job, don't put yourself in any danger, do the job the best you can and come home every night to your family, I'd say.
You get home, kids are bouncing on the trampoline or something, see you driving up the driveway and they're just leaping off and running towards you, That's a reward in itself for anybody to get home safely.
At the end of the day, we want you to get home safe and sound to your families and reduce the risk of unsafe vehicles on the road. It's that simple.